Good. So we Baruch Hashem, we had Purim. We had most of the world had Purim on Thursday. Although in Yerushalayim there was Purim on Friday, which led right into Shabbos. So it was a very nice scene. And sometimes we think that right after Purim there's like a break from the Simcha, from everything that we had. And the Rabbi would always mention that even the days after Purim, it's a full 60-day cycle. So the days after Purim are going to continue going up in the scale of Simcha, of happiness, in order for us to elevate everything to the next level. As part of the simcha, of the growth, we want to make sure that people are healthy. We know that there's a famous story of one of the Hasidim that told the Rabbi that he should be very healthy and strong, gesund und stark, healthy and strong, and the Rabbi told him and sameach, and happy. So happiness is the ending, but also the crown of health and strength, and that when we're happy, everything becomes better. So with that, we're getting out of Purim. We're going into the next step into Be'ezrat Hashem. Pesach is in 30 days. But before we leave Purim, we want to discuss, and Rav Ginsburg has been discussing a lot in the past couple of weeks, the special inyan that we have, the special connection, if we want to say it in the funniest way, to the mitzvah that we have before Purim, that we read every year. We read before Purim, the mitzvah of getting rid of mechiyat Amalek. Amalek is a symbol of many things. 1 second, just 1 second. Sorry. Have to adjust something over here. Okay, sorry about that. Amalek is a symbol of several things, of the worst things in humanity, the worst attributes that we can connect to or use. And where does he start? Where does the story start? So the story starts after we get out of Egypt. And Rav Ginsburg shows that it's very interesting that sometimes we look at first going out of Egypt and then meeting this enemy, this arch enemy of the Jews, Amalek. Although in the cycle of the year, we end with Amalek, and then right after that comes Yetziat Mitzrayim. So sometimes we look at Amalek before, and sometimes we look at him after Mitzrayim, and we'll speak about that soon. But what happened? We got out of Egypt, and it was miraculous. Everyone in the world was amazed by the miracle of the splitting of the sea. It was something that was, all the news all over the world was just talking about the fact that the Jews got out of Egypt. It was unheard of, unbelievable. And if we would have taken that and brought it into Israel, and everyone would come into Eretz Israel and create something with that, a strong, 1 second. Sorry. And create something with a strong power of the awe that everyone had from this miracle, it could have been something very interesting, very nice. Maybe even redemption, a quick and swift geula. But right after that, Amalek came. And the first thing he did was to cool everything down, cool down. And Chazal teach us that it's like a bath, or that all the Jews were very hot, and the world was very hot about Hashem, about God, and like a hot tub. And Amalek jumped in there, obviously hurting himself, as he was killed in, not himself, but his nation was killed in that war. But Amalek jumped to that war in order to cool down the tub, to make everyone be a little bit more cold about things, to make everyone not think of the big miracles, but rather think of the war that happened. And so the first thing that Amalek is the source of is cooling the good things down, cooling the good energy. And when there's good energy, there's good vibes, as people say, there's good connection to Hashem, the first thing that Amalek does is cools it down. And the way he does it, which is the second attribute of Amalek, is that he makes everything seem like just an occurrence. Nothing is, no connection. He disconnects the events of life from Hashem, from God, or from spirituality. He just says everything is an occurrence. You have mikre. Mikre is the same letters in Hebrew as kor. It has the same core letters, kuf and resh. So that coldness that he brings is from saying, it was something, once in a while the sea splits, once in a while people get out of Egypt, once in a while empires fall. So the Egyptian empire's time was to fall, and this whole thing happened. He needs to put everything in very small increments and small causes, and just disconnect everything from the big picture of Hashem and the connection to this world. So that's his second thing. And by disconnecting, he's able to cool everything down. People were feeling like, wow, there was a great miracle. Let's connect to the Jewish people. Cool down. It's all just occurrences that happen once in a while. So that's his second thing. The third thing, and this the Baal Shem Tov taught us, and that's one of the biggest problems of Amalek. Amalek in numerically is the same word as suffix, doubts. Amalek's thing is to put doubts. Again, it all has to do with his coldness, with his look on life. But in general, Amalek likes to put doubts. He says, maybe not, maybe it will not work. Maybe redemption is not a good thing. Maybe connecting to Hashem does not do well. Maybe being Jewish is not good. Maybe being good is not good. Maybe the opposite. If you're good, you're a fool, because someone like Amalek is going to attack you, and then you'll look like a fool. So maybe you shouldn't. All of these doubts, again, create the same thing, the same coldness. So that's his other thing that Amalek is the source of. We can see a real source of evil, something that brings everything to all the problems. In the Seudat Purim that we had, Rav Ginsburg also said that if that doesn't make you hate Amalek enough, if all of these things, you can also think of him as a traitor, as a real traitor. Why is that? Because he likes to go into things and disconnect them. A treaty, a bris, is a connection. The connection between a person and his fellow Jew, or his wife, connection between the person and God. All of these connections, Amalek likes to sit on those connections and disconnect them. Say what you want and what they want is not going to work out. You want something and they want, the interests are not aligned. And because they're not aligned, it's not going to work out. So not only he's all of these things, he's also a liar and a traitor. He disconnects the treaties between people and between all the parts. Again, he likes to put things in his perspectives. where you can't get married because you would want one thing and your wife would want another thing, and vice versa, and it's going to create a problem. So again, every treaty, every good connection that we have, Amalek is sitting in the middle trying to disconnect. And obviously the thing that we always try to connect, spirituality, ruchaniyut, and gashmiyot, the physicalities of the world, he also, that's his favorite place to disconnect. To say that no, we are not connected. They are not connected. You have your physical needs and you have your spiritual needs. It's two separate things. There's a lot to talk about that. But anyways, all of these things, all of these bad things, where do they show for the first time? Where's the first war between the ultimate evil, Amalek, and the Jews? The first war was right after going out of Egypt. The Jews went out of Egypt miraculously, everything was great. And then Amalek comes and fights with us. And he fights in the worst ways. Like he goes behind and sneaks back and tries to take like the people that have the hardest time catching up with the camp. The mezanvim acharecha, the last people, he just takes them and says, what do you care? I didn't do something so bad. He slowly but surely tries to get at the Jews. And then right away, Moshe says, okay, we're going to fight him. We're going to take our people and fight him. But interestingly enough, Moshe does not fight him. We don't have it's not the fight of Moses versus Amalek. It's the fight of Joshua versus Amalek. Why is that? So Rav Ginsburg taught us that it's a very interesting thing that the person that can fight and win Amalek is the son of Rachel Imenu, of Rachel, our mother, who has Yefato ve'Yefat Ma'er. She was beautiful and she was connected to this world and to everything. And in order to win the war between good and evil, between us and Amalek, there needed to be a son of Rachel. And that was Joshua, the follower of Moshe. And he was fighting. But interestingly enough, the commandment of that fight was not to kill Amalek. The time was not ready for it. We, as Jews, and the world was not ready to completely kill Amalek, but rather we weakened him. We made him very weak. There's many midrashim that our sages teach us about what exactly happened in that war. The war was inspired by Moshe, who was sitting on the mountain and raising his hand to connect us with Hashem again, as we were saying. But that was the first war. What happened after that? Very interesting. That after that, when Yeshua took leadership, one of the first things that he did was to write the Torah on stones. And again, we don't have enough time today to describe the whole story there. But the basic concept was he wrote the Torah on stones to 70 in 70 languages. 70 in general is the number of nations of the world. Again, we know that you can split nations in many different ways, but in general, in Judaism, the way we look at the nations of the world is 70 nations. We are one sheep among 70 wolves. There are 70 different nations, and we know that we want during the Beis Hamikdash they would all come on the Yom Tov and bring their oxen. There's a lot to say about the nations, but in general, there are 70 languages, as we many times incur in Chazal, and Yoshua wrote the Torah in 70 languages. So that was the first story of the fight of Amalek, and then the Torah being written. And we'll say the connection shortly. What happened after that? What was the second story of Amalek? Second story was with King Saul, with Shaul Amalek. He was the first king of Israel. Again, the leadership came. So what do we do? What is it time for? It's time for destruction of Amalek. of the evil of this world. We want to destroy Amalek. We'll say very shortly that when we look at Amalek, we look at himself and his nation, which means that Amalek himself is a very, very, very small portion of the world, but he gains control, or in general, he becomes a magnet to many nations or people to create his nation, which is the nation of Amalek, which is important for us to understand that even with it's very hard to try to see who is Amalek and who's not. There are several signs that we can look at, but in general, we say that it's impossible today to know who's Amalek and who's not. So what is the sign of Amalek? That he is the ultimate evil, the real evil, that really wants real destruction. Not just to gain something. Amalek did not gain anything by taking a war against the Jewish people when they got out of Egypt. He knew he would lose. He had no problem losing. He wasn't trying to get a certain territory or to do something good. He was just trying to do something bad. He's the ultimate evil. We know that today the president of Ukraine had a speech brought by Zoom to many of the Israeli parliament, and he made what, although we connect to the suffering of the people of Ukraine, he made a very bad analogy between the Holocaust and the current Ukraine war. Again, war is a very bad thing, but the Holocaust was the ultimate evil. There was no point to it. It was just to kill Jews as well as other people, but that's the ultimate evil. And when we look at it, we really hate it. A person is supposed to hate Amalek. We hate this evil. But we must understand that this evil is a very small portion of the world. The nations of the world, even the nations that followed the evils, and again, this is not just in one generation, it's every generation. Milchama Hashem ba'Amalek. There's a fight between God and Amalek, midor in every generation. Every generation, there are evil characters that ruin the good of this world. And it's not just the actual fight or bad things that they do. It's all of the things that we discussed in the beginning, all of the attributes that they give to the world that are in everything and everyone. Everyone can connect, unfortunately, to all of these things, to the doubts and the coldness and the disconnecting between things and the traitorous and everything that Amalek brings. We can all connect to the hatred that we have against all of these bad things, but they're all around. Now, we're a bit running out of time, so we'll say, what is the next war? Again, King Saul, we were in the middle of his war, did not complete the war. There were several things. He first only killed the men, and then at the end of the day, Amalek got away. Amalek, the core evil, was able to have children. And from his children, his great-grandson is our known character from the Megillah, Haman, the evil character that couldn't stand Jews enough for him to pay 10,000 major pieces, or kikar, of gold, tremendous amounts of money, for one reason, to kill Jews. He's not going to gain anything. There will be... Haman did not gain anything. The opposite. He took on a war where he had nothing to gain except being evil. He's the evil character that's very easy to hate. And who fought him? So we know that Mordechai, the hero of our Megillah, was from the sons of Rachel. He was from Binyamin, the son of Rachel. So he was also Ben Kish, who's the father of King Saul. So he was connected to King Saul. maybe even straight connection family-wise. But he was supposed to be the tikkun. He was supposed to rectify the whole fight that did not work out between King Saul and Amalek, and take care of the evil of Amalek. But what was the problem? The problem of that generation, and this is something very deep, although I will say that some of this I kind of understood, so some of it was not said by Rabbi Ginsburg, but this is something that really struck me when I was reading the Megillah, is that the beginning of the Megillah starts with the big party that Achashverosh threw. And we know that within that party, he had a kosher supervision. So when the Jews came to the party, they were not eating non-kosher. So why was it so bad to connect to the party of Achashverosh? So the reason that Chazal says, because they enjoyed it. Now, what is the problem of enjoying his party? The problem is that you're giving leadership to him. You're losing the leadership of Chachamim. We know that there's one leader, there's one advisor, there's one leader to this world. Obviously, Hashem leads the world, but he allows us to have a fight between good and evil. And who represents the good? The tzaddikim. Unfortunately, today we had the levaya of one of the tzaddikim of this generation, Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, who was appreciated throughout all different types of Jews, from secular to Hasidim, to everyone connected to a Jew that was fully devoted to Torah and mitzvot. So may his chus yagen aleinu to also Be'ezrat Hashem he should go up to Shamayim and scream that we want complete redemption from evil. But who fights evil? The righteous people. And who's the most righteous person that we know of in that generation? Mordechai. But the problem was that the leadership of that generation was given to Achashverosh, and he gave it to Haman. So at the end of the day, we were going in a very, very bad direction. And what happened? The whole Megillah, and this is a secret that Rabbi Ginsburg shared with us in the Purim, that the whole Megillah was in order to give strength to Chachamim, in order for Queen Esther and Mordechai to gain strength and bring back the leadership to us, to the good side. And we know the famous pasuk of the end of the Megillah, that the Jews had light and happiness or gladness and joy, simcha v'sason ve'ikar, honor connecting to tefillin. But what happened at the end of the Megillah? Mordechai was mitnaseh ala Yehudim. He became the nasi. He became the person that everyone looks to. And everyone connected to Mordechai as the leader. And therefore, the world was going, Va'ir Shushan, who's the Ir Shushan that we speak about, the city of Shushan, is the regular non-Jews. Tzahalav v'samecha, they were very happy. Why were they happy? Because everyone wants the good to win at the end of the day. Evil does not really have a real hold. Everyone wants the good to win, and the good won. Mordechai won. And what happened when he won? So he had to kill a few of the real evil people that wanted to hurt, obviously the Jews, but at the end of the day, the whole world. And after that, became everyone was doing better. Everyone was happy. Now, what do we know about Mordechai? So one of the things we know is that he had another name. His other name was Ptachia. Why did he have that name? So Chazal teach us that he was able to talk in every language. We know that one of the reasons that the Megillah says that why we were saved was because Mordechai was standing in the gates. Gates means the city hall of Shushan, and he heard the two guards saying that they want to kill Achashverosh. And he understood because he understood all these languages. They thought he couldn't understand them because he's a Jew. But he understood all languages. Now, why is that so important? So we know that Joshua, the first fighter against Amalek that we spoke about, he wrote the Torah. But Mordechai, he started speaking the Torah in every language. Started what we call the fourth revolution, which we're speaking about a lot, where everyone in the world should know Torah, should get the light of Torah and be inspired by the good and the light of Torah. And that was continued after Yoshua by Mordechai. And Bezrat Hashem, the ending of that process is Mashiach, that one of his first thing right after he creates a good Jewish system is to go and fight Amalek and kill the real evil that hurts this world. We as Jews don't want to just have a place to live, a place to chas v'shalom, a place to run to, as people kind of look at the land of Israel as like a getaway place. No, we want the place that we as Jews create to be the light for all the nations, the light of Torah, which will bring good to the whole world. And who do we have to fight in order to gain it? The Amalek, the real evil that hurts, that cuts away, that lies, that is a traitor to humanity, which is Amalek. And that is the real fight, and that will come when Mashiach has that fight and wins. Bezrat Hashem, it will create tremendous amount of peace. As we read all the prophecies of the end of days, where everyone will come together and join and take all the weapons that they've created. I like to say that one of the things that I see is that one of the best energies, the source of energy in the world, is atomic energy. That you can take the biggest bomb created, the atomic bomb, and you can create the best source of energy. That couldn't be a better analogy for how you can take the worst thing and make with it something really good that gives light to the world. It's just something that I was thinking about. But at the end of the way, that is the goal of Purim. That is one of the highest days of the year. We say that Yom Kippur is like Purim, and we want that to happen in these days. And Rav Ginsburg was talking about the war in Ukraine that we want to end because it doesn't make us happy. It doesn't make the leaders of the generation, the good guys, happy. What's happening? We want it to end, and with that, we want Mashiach to come right away. So we'll just we ran out of time. We can have a question or two, and then we'll go to do some good Bezrat Hashem.